Let's make some noise. Come on.
Yeah, Nick Foles, let's make some noise. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, our final one of our broadcast week of The Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. It's your boy MattyB on the call tonight. As in the show title indicates, optics are everything. The end is nigh for Nick Sirianni and the Phillies today. The Phillies finally did the inevitable by releasing Nick Castellanos after a much maligned offseason in which tipping their hand way too early proved to be, more than the Phillies could take when it came to trying to move the controversial outfielder. We discussed on this show last night, maybe this wasn't like as cut and dry as releasing him. Maybe they were trying to work out this major deal, but there was no major deal to be made. They released him today. And, of course, since that, a bunch of stuff has already come out about Nick Castellanos' final days here in Philly. Also about his legacy overall in Philly. Matt Gelb of The Athletic with a interesting op-ed piece that came within hours after the news of Nick being released has shed some light on the troubled Phillies outfielder. So we're going to get into the Nick Castellanos fallout, because I think it's important that we discuss, because there's being a lot of blame being thrown around about it's Castellanos' fault. It's the Phillies. The Phillies did him bad. It's his fault. I want to kind of try to break some of that down. We'll go over some of the information that's already sort of slipped out. Castellanos tried to get ahead of everything by releasing his own handwritten statement that he must have taken off of his refrigerator door because it looked very strikingly similar to something I would have written when I was in third grade. But we're going to get into all that. So Nick Castellanos is finally a free agent, and the Phillies are sucking up $20 million and getting absolutely nothing back in return, as this spring training is off to an amazing start. Where does Castellanos land? With who after this? Apparently there's a bunch of interest in him now that he can be signed for the league veteran minimum, which is about somewhere in that like $500,000 range. So someone's going to get a bargain, and Castellanos is going to make $20,500,000 this year playing for somebody. So it's a win-win for Castellanos, I guess. So we'll get into some Castellanos. Earlier on the network, me and Kyle Quinn got together to say goodbye to the Birds Blast. That was a pretty fun show. If you missed it, please go ahead and check it out on our social media and our YouTube page. That was very interesting as me and Kyle put the bow on the 2025 season. We could continue the Eagles talk, which I don't know about what, though. I mean, we pretty much walked the dog this week on the Eagles, but we'll continue on. If you guys want to talk about anything Eagles related, of course you can. Team USA is finally on their way. Today, a 5-1 win over Latvia. They are now 1-0 in Olympic competition. They will play again on Saturday for their second game of pool play, I believe, against Denmark or Finland. Denmark. I would say Denmark. Denmark or Germany. And then on Sunday against either Denmark or Germany. So it's good to see Olympic hockey getting started. Our of the night, our Day of Philadelphia Sports History, and our Card of the Night segment. All that today on a under the weather edition of The Final Word. I'm sick. I am sick. But we'll get through this show tonight. Get you going into the weekend on the positive. So make sure you guys are hanging in there with me. And before we get rolling, here's what's happening on the network tonight and the rest of this week. Again, at 4 o'clock, you had the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. Pittsburgh Sports Tonight was not on the air tonight. And you had the Gridiron Weekly. And then me. Tomorrow is the Philly Friday Frenzy. Best of the week if it's a Wrap Sports on Saturday. And Philly AM Sports. And then me, the Final Word, is the rest of your week this week on the network. So make sure you're giving us a look-see, a follow, a subscribe, a share, all them wonderful things as we finish out this week strong. All right. Where are we here? Joseph, what's up? Hey, Joe, how are you? If I feel up to it, can open the phone lines. We'll think about it, Joe. I'm tired. I've been sleeping all day, in and out. I'm sick. We'll see. We'll leave it up in the air right now. All right. That's the best I can say. I hate these late winter. I've been pretty good this year, relatively speaking, when it comes to getting sick. It's like the first time all winter. And I got to, I guess I'm lucky in that aspect, but boy, I hate these. I hate being sick. And it's not like the flu or anything like that. It's not COVID. It's just a really bad head cold. But, I don't think I've eaten much today, and I've been sleeping most of the day away. So I just hate these. I just hate feeling this way. By Casty as Star Wars says, yeah, we're definitely going to, that is the lead story tonight. So let's strap in, strap on, strap up. Keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And here we go with your day in Philadelphia sports history. On this day back in 1930, Athletics owner-manager Connie Mack, officially Cornelius McGillicuddy, won the prestigious Edward W. Bach Prize, known as the Philadelphia Award, then after, given to the Philadelphia citizen who, during the preceding year, during the preceding year, acted and served on behalf of his best interest of the community. Mack, who led the A's to a World Series victory in 1929, was the first Philly sports figure to win the prize. So, congratulations, Connie Mack, on winning the Bach Prize, known now as the Philadelphia Citizen Award, or the Philadelphia Award. Yeah. On a slow night in Philadelphia sports history in 1939. Oof. Or 1930. So there you have it. Connie Mack wins the Bach Prize as the, I guess, number one citizen in Philadelphia of the year previous. I don't make it up, man. Just read what they tell me. And that is your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the great folks over at the PM, or not the PM, but the Philly Friday Frenzy Show, starring Big Al's of Fury every Friday night at 9 o'clock. Join Al as he will give you his dose of Philly sports for the week. He'll put his spin on the Philadelphia sports scene for the week, and then talk about what might be happening for that coming weekend. So every Friday night at 9 p.m., exclusively here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, the Philly Friday Frenzy with Big Al. So good stuff. All right, let's get to the main course tonight. After telegraphing their intentions for months now, the Phillies finally parted ways with Nick Castellanos to probably the worst possible outcome for the Phillies as an organization. They gave up on him. Nobody was going to trade for him, and the Phillies released him. In the process, they're going to eat the $20 million of his salary that's owed this year. And, of course, the biggest thing is they'll get absolutely nothing in return. So today, in essence, the Phillies got worse. They did. They got worse. And today also symbolized the end of the Nick Castellanos era here in the city, which was at best tumultuous, right? At best tumultuous. And whether you feel Nick Castellanos got the shaft here, whether you feel that the Phillies acted responsibly with this whole thing, is really what the debate is tonight. But the overarching thing, the one common denominator, is that the Phillies are left holding a $20 million bag, and this is, with that alone, constitutes a failure upon Dave Dombrowski and the rest of the organization for not reading the room, feeling a little arrogant about the situation that they could move him. Really just a terrible, terrible way sort of to kind of conduct business here. I mean, you never show your hand, right? You never tell people what you're going to do, because a situation like this could happen. And ultimately, that's the legacy of what we're going to have to left to live with when it comes to Nick Castellanos. It's not necessarily whether he got shafted, which I don't think he did, honestly. I think this is a case, and as we've seen some evidence already float out about what kind of a person he was, this is a case of Nick Castellanos thinking he's something that he's not. And I don't think he got shafted by the Phillies. I don't think he got shafted at all by the Phillies. Matter of fact, in what I have seen and what I have experienced with it, Quite the opposite, man. He shafted the Phillies. So we're going to get into it. Within hours after he was released, or an hour, he penned a letter. And when I mean he wrote a letter out to the Phillies. And I'm going to read you that letter. He also shined some light into the infamous incident that got him benched in Miami. And about what might have happened, to get benched. And also, within hours after that, Matt Gelb, who apparently was holding on to this article for a while and was waiting until the Phillies did something with Nick Castellanos, released an article through The Athletic that sort of painted another picture of the person of Nick Castellanos. So a lot of information has sort of come to bear within hours after Nick Castellanos' final lap here in Philadelphia. So we're gonna read those pieces. We're gonna read some of those snippets, and we're gonna try to cast our own opinion on the whole Castellanos situation. Joe says he thinks the Phillies did the right thing. Yeah, I mean, well, so the bottom line was, Joe, the Phillies did not get what they bargained for. 4 years ago, he signed here, right? And well, let's do this chronologically. I want to go over some of this. So let's talk about the stuff that he said. Let's talk about where is there you go. Here it is. Here's the letter that he wrote. And when I mean he wrote a letter, I mean a piece of loose leaf paper and a pen. So here we go. Philadelphia. John, thank you for what you have provided me and my family with. Dave, presumably Dave Dombrowski, John Middleton, thank you for the opportunity. Staff, thank you for helping me prepare. Paco Figueroa. 414 is just as much yours as it is mine. You are the man in any room you walk into. My teammates, I love you guys. Querero mucho. Again, that means I love you much or thank you much. Playing with you all will be a core memory of the rest of my life. To the people of the city, thank you for showing up. What was that? These past 4 years. Applauding or booing, you were there. You were there. Remember? Oh, good God. Remember the something alternating and powerful passion? You love your sports teams and are not married to the lens of the media companies that cover them. The color of your collective soul is your own to paint together. Very poetic. Right there for him. Then he says, something all thank you for embracing them the way you did for that, and I can never repay. I was about his family. To all who are reading this, I wish you strong wealth, peace, and peace of mind. Nicholas, and it's a picture of a house with a fireplace going. So that was the letter he wrote to the city of Philadelphia, to the staff, to Paco Figueroa, but not to Dave Dombrowski, not to John Middleton, but not to Kevin Long and Rob Thompson. He doesn't mention them in the letter. And that's interesting, right? But this is before some of the things that came out afterwards that I saw, but I was just sort of taking the letter at its own face value of no mention of Rob Thompson and no mention of Kevin Long. So, it's a good statement. It's a solid statement of a player who spent 4 years. Interesting that he hand wrote it. It would be a lot easier for me to read the goddamn thing if it was, an internet post, but whatever. He's not here to satisfy me, but a very interesting letter and a very, heartfelt letter. So then he goes on to explain about the Miami incident, which is what he's calling, I guess, what got him benched. So I'm going to try to read this again. Bear with me here. Bear with me on this. So, okay, apparently I need to address the Miami incident. As one of my friends has on the team has informed me, there is a article waiting to come out without my consent or comments about this situation. So I'm going to just share myself, whatever that is. So he's referring to the Matt Gelb article that has now since come out. So he's trying to get ahead of this story, I guess, trying to give his point of view first before people are going to create their own. As a veteran of the game of baseball, there are rules, and I broke one of them in Miami after being taken out of a game, a close game, in front of my family and friends, which I don't know why you have to put that in there. Does it matter if it was in front of your family or friends? And why is it important in this context? I don't understand that, right? Again, okay, so you had family and friends in attendance, right? But does that, I mean, if they weren't there, would that be a major point here? I brought a Presidente, which is a beer, into the dugout. I then sat right next to Rob and let him know that too much slack in some areas and too tight of restrictions in others are not conducive to us winning. Shout out to my teammates and Howie Kendrick, for not letting me, or for taking the beer out of my hand before I could take a sip, or, and I'm adding this, or the camera picked it up. I appreciate you guys. After the game, I went into the office with Dave and Rob. We aired out our differences, and the conversation ended with me apologizing for letting my emotions get the best of me. I would like to note that I was ready. I was ready to basically come to the media the next day with the story, but was advised by the team not to, but instructed by management not to. The punishment I received for my actions was the benching the following game. I love this game. I love being a teammate, and I am addicted to winning. I will learn from this. So that's the Miami incident. That sheds a little bit of light of why he was benched the next day, of what happened there. Now, I think there's more, because apparently initially when the original story happened, people were quoted as saying it was one of the more disgusting things that they ever heard somebody say to somebody else when it was referred to what got him benched. So he's not mentioning that in that little letter. And I don't know if that's will ever come to light, but obviously the bringing a beer into the dugout and, having this like holier than thou attitude, like I'm bigger than this whole thing, is probably part of why he got benched, obviously. But there's probably a second part to this that we don't know yet. And what he said to Rob Thompson, kind of pissed him off. But anyway, that was that's Castellanos' side of basically the situation. Castellanos don't care, and I've been saying I got DFA, which happened today because he's getting paid. Yeah, no, I 100%. He's going to air out everything he's going to have to say. Doesn't matter. He got paid. Castellanos came out on the upside completely on this situation. There's no one arguing that, and that's probably what's pissing me off the most. But so anyway, Matt Gelb released an article a couple hours after Castellanos was out, chronologizing some of the more interesting points of his time in Philadelphia. And I'm going to read you some excerpts from this article. From the moment he came to Philadelphia in March 2022, Castellanos detected that he was perceived as disrespected. Castellanos detected what he perceived as disrespect towards him. He was a star player who joined the roster filled with bigger stars, a challenging dynamic. Castellanos fought for himself when he did not think he was being treated like a star. He endured the first prolonged struggles of a successful career. He did not wish to return to the Phillies in 2026. It was also if it was as a part-time player, he bristled when he thought about teammates were afforded more luxuries. The Phillies did not say it this way. They believed that they had gone to great lengths to create a comfortable environment for Castellanos, something team officials knew was important to him. His oldest son, Liam, was a frequent presence on the field and in the clubhouse before games. Other clubs might have been more proactive in platooning Castellanos or removing him for defense well before the Phillies attempted it. So that was a little bit of a fight back about, Nick Castellanos' sort of misguided perception that when he came to Philadelphia, he was allegedly a star athlete or a star player. I never thought Nick Castellanos was a star player. A very good player. And Detroit and Cincinnati where he was before. But I never looked at him in the light of, oh, God, this is a franchise-altering move for the Phillies. They're bringing in that guy. I looked at him as another piece to the puzzle, as important as JT Realmuto was. You know what I mean? Like a core piece, but not the star. So maybe the Phillies really screwed this thing up from the beginning by not expressing their intentions with Nick and giving him a false expectation. Now, this is also in the article, and I found this to be very interesting. Right before Nick Castellanos signed his contract in 2022 with the Phillies, this was reported. No other team was willing to meet the offer Dombrowski made. In the hours before Castellanos agreed to the deal, league sources said he implored his agency to find another club that would offer the same terms. But Philadelphia was his best chance to make generational money and play for a winner. Okay, interesting. So obviously coming here was not his number one choice, and that it really boiled down to the money. It boiled down to getting paid, and but perhaps not, perhaps putting some of his reservations secondhand in order to get the money. So right off the bat, he's making the wrong choices here, right? If you don't feel like this is a good fit for you, then why the hell are you coming here? No one forced you to sign the contract. So once again, this is another example of athletes or people in general who believe they're above accountability, or they're above the system, or they're above being held to a standard. If you didn't want to be here, if you had whatever reservations they were, then why the hell did you sign here? Oh, I'm going to tell you why you signed here, because they offered you the best deal. So there's a certain jump in the bed with the devil sort of attitude that has to exist here. So, okay. Now, this was a quote from Castellanos during the 2022 playoffs. I will say I'm somebody who doesn't forget anything. Castellanos said during the 2022 playoffs. I am also somebody who takes everything personally. Now, I don't know about you folks. That's a really unhealthy way to live. If you're going to take everything personally in your life, I couldn't survive that. That's way too much for me. And that's paranoia. That's a sickness right there. You might want to get some help there, Broham. But again, knowing what we know about him now, there's also another report in this article that even during a Phillies loss, he would blare his own music down there in the clubhouse. Well, it wasn't necessarily appropriate after a tough loss. He's got his music cranking because he had a good game. So there's another little piece to that puzzle. And ultimately speaking, here's my point of this. Nick Castellanos in 2024 was given every opportunity. And I do want to address this because obviously there's no respect between Kevin Long and Rob Thompson and Nick Castellanos. I believe Castellanos also made a quote, and I'm paraphrasing, is that essentially, I'm not listening to anybody tell me about baseball or coach me about baseball who's never played the game at the professional level. And that was also a quote in that article, that was the attitude he had towards his manager and his hitting coach. So obviously there's issues there. But Rob Thompson rode you when a lot of people, to include me, were extremely frustrated about why you were still in the lineup. And I cite that 2024 season. He played the whole season, 162 regular season games and 5 playoff games at the end of the season, right? He played every single game of the 2024 season, regular season and playoffs, when he had no business in doing that. And Rob Thompson stuck with him through some awful ass slumps for about 3/4 of the season. It finally started kicking for him around that last quarter of the year and into the playoffs. But that first 3/4 of the 2024 season were god awful. But Rob Thompson kept going back to you and kept playing you. So you know what, dude? Suck it up, Buttercup. This season, it didn't work. Again, he ran out of patience. He had enough of. He saw enough, and he was tired. He gave you an ample opportunity, and he sat you. Now, bringing a beer in the dugout and whatever else happened in that incident, which I hope is what comes out, because I don't think that he got suspended for a game for bringing an unopened beer or a closed beer into the dugout. I don't think that's worth the suspension. But accept it, man. Accept it. They gave you every opportunity, and they had your back through a lot of stuff. So I don't feel at all that the Phillies did anything to Nick Castellanos negatively. None. Not one bit. They handled the whole divorce terribly and telegraphed their hand and got nothing in compensation for him. But to sit here and say that Castellanos is some victim in this is ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. And the only thing I'm upset about is that we got sucked for $20 million and got nothing in return. So that's the Castellanos thing in a nutshell. And I'm sure more will follow as we get deeper into this. You know what I mean? But this is just sort of kind of the beginning portion of it all. I like Nick called the Buffoon manager out and called the other assistants on the team. Bringing a beer in the dugout and not drinking is no big deal. I mean, people were eating greenies for years and jelly. I agree with that. I don't know if that was the reason why he got suspended. There were reports he never wanted to be. Well, I just read you that he kind of didn't, that he chose it because they gave him the best deal. Well, the dummy Dombrowski signed 2 designated hitters in Schwarber and Castellanos. The dummy Dombrowski messed up. Yeah. Nick, like any other athlete, it's about money. Just remember when the Phillies signed Andrew McCutchen, he said, "Did you see the contract?" Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't listen to the Buffoon manager. Oh, the phone line's opening. We'll see. Not feeling well tonight, Papernick. I don't know if I'm going to stay on the air that long, but I'm thinking about it. As far as not listening to the Buffoon manager, you know, I get it, man. And apparently the Buffoon hitting coach too, which is very interesting too, because I never liked Kevin Long. I never understood what his job with the Phillies was either. And I honestly don't understand what the job of a hitting coach at the Major League Baseball level is to begin with. I always look at the hitting coach as like one of these jobs at the MLB level. I'd love to be an MLB hitting coach. What the hell am I really doing? I'm going to sit there and tell Bryce Harper to change her swing. I'm going to sit there and say, Bryce Harper, now, the baseball gods presented you upon the earth. You've been playing baseball now for, by the time you got to me, for about at least 22 years. And it's gotten you to this point. What in the hell am I going to do that's going to open up you more? You know, maybe there's those situations where I could point something out to you that make you feel a little bit more comfortable, or say, hey, you know, you're dropping that elbow, you're dropping that arm. You know, maybe I could be that type of guy. But what really does the hitting coach at the Major League Baseball level do for you? Honestly, you've gotten to that point, and then the whole Kevin Long love affair, which is weird here. I just was never a big fan of him either. But yeah, the statement that he did not trust or respect anybody in the business that has not played it in a coach or manager role is telling. I hope whoever signs him is the manager's a former player. Does that limit his possibilities now that he's already kind of went public with that? That he doesn't respect non-players as managers? Kind of limits your choices a little bit now, doesn't it? Don't forget, Rob Thompson wasn't the manager when he signed here, right? It was Girardi. So, you know, maybe there's something to that too. But yeah, listen, the bottom line is, when it comes to the Castellanos thing, and I get it, there's going to be two sides that think the Phillies did him wrong. The Phillies did Nick Castellanos wrong one way only. They didn't get compensated for getting rid of him. There's nothing written, and what I've seen so far, it doesn't show anything to me that the Phillies treated Nick Castellanos with any great disrespect. I cite the 2024 season as a opportunity given to him that probably shouldn't have been given to him. And Thompson kept riding him all year, and he wouldn't go away from him. He showed immense loyalty to him throughout 2024 and literally played him in every game. So I'm not buying the Nick Castellanos, woe is me, I'm a victim stuff. I'm not at all. And I'm mad about one thing and one thing only. We didn't get compensated. So there's my Nick Castellanos take if you guys are interested in it. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. And let's do it. We're going to open up the phone lines, but not for long. We're going to keep the calls to a minimum, but phone lines are open if you guys want to jump in. They're opened up on all the platforms. I don't know what's going on with X. We're broadcasting on X, but not like publicly. I don't know what's going on with X, but it's opened up in Facebook and on the YouTube page. So feel free to jump on. Let's check out X. What is going on X tonight? So yeah, we're broadcasting on X, but it's not showing up. And when I click it, yeah, you got to open up live video. That's weird. I don't know what's going on with X, but we are broadcasting on all the feeds. So hop on if you want. We'll have some fun. Nick Castellanos is gone. What did the Phillies do now? $20 million poorer. We're actually worse of a baseball team right now than we were, even though Rob Thompson said he thinks we're a better baseball team, which I don't think we are, but we're kind of a worse baseball team right now. Are the Phillies done signing players? We have another 3 or 4 days before the start of mandatory team workouts. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's go to the phones and let's bring on Joe Hal.
Joe, how you doing tonight? Make this quick. Now, somebody, there's an.
Still there, Joe?
Yes. There's another tweet out there from Matt Gill, just retweeted something on X saying he doesn't think Castellanos is going to be signed anywhere.
Well, that's interesting. It's very interesting, and that's part of the rules story that we haven't talked about. What is the desirability of Nick Castellanos? What makes him desirable to me, there, Joe Hale, is that you can get him on the league minimum, and if you need a platoon, now does Castellanos not want to go to a situation where he's going to be a platoon? You know what I mean? Does he want to walk into a starting job?
He thinks he's a star player still.
Yeah, so that could limit his opportunities. But I would feel pretty confident that Nick Castellanos at some point during the baseball season surfaces with somebody.
I think he goes home to Florida. But I'm glad the Phillies cut him today. Because he was the cancer. From reading Matt Gill's post, I read the whole article Matt Gill put out. He was the cancer, Nick Castellanos.
Yeah, it sounded like it. Sounded like he was. He came in with a perceived notion that he was the franchise.
Somebody else had to say something. Ricky Bo hit it perfectly today. There has to be audio from that Florida game that somebody's hiding. That Nick Castellanos is hiding.
Yeah, I don't think bringing a beer in the dugout's enough to get suspended. There's got to be something more that was said.
Something more did happen.
Yeah, I believe that.
He probably threw chairs in the clubhouse.
Or he said, because don't forget, the original reports I read, what had happened was that whatever was said, it was allegedly made grown men disgusted and like sick to their stomachs, whatever was said. That's what the quote I heard about what was said. Now,
and you have kids in the dugout. You have Nick's son in the dugout. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a professional place to do it at. But let me ask you this. Was Castellanos wrong? And I think we talked about it when it first happened. Was Castellanos, in light of what happened to Matt Strom spoke out against management at the end of the season and got traded. But Nick Castellanos now is cut. But is this do you think the Phillies have a zero-tolerant policy when it comes to talking back to the coaches and the management team?
Yeah.
You do.
Now, I wonder if repercussion. Didn't Bohm do something like that?
Not that I know of. Bohm mouthed off to the fans and he mouthed off to the reporters, but he never openly challenged management. But so, do you think say we take Castellanos out of this mix and we put Bryce Harper, and this is all happening to Bryce Harper? Do you think Bryce Harper's released for this
or traded?
Really? Joe, how you think the Phillies are that like dead set, like that they're that foundational about, you have to act a certain way. I disagree. I think because Castellanos said there were different standards for different players in some of those articles too.
I wonder who's the next person to speak out on. I wonder if it's Harper that's going to speak on the Castellanos, unless they were told not to.
Yeah, they might have been told not to, but someone's going to try. That's going to be the number one question next week when they come to camp.
So go back, if you can, when we're all done, and look what Dombrowski said. Dombrowski spoke about what happened with Castellanos.
I watched the interview. Yeah, he's very calm and collected, very very justified, and we tried to do our best, but we couldn't get it done. The high winds blowing the microphone.
About the Florida situation. He was asked about that.
Yeah, he said he knew, he made a comment, well, that was 7 months ago. I don't want to go down that road again.
Yeah, but he spoke today about it.
Yeah, I saw that. But
all right,
Joe, listen, man, good week. I appreciate your contributions, man, as always.
Yo, get better, and we'll talk to Al tomorrow about this.
There you go. Al, is Al going to open? Al's opening the phones tomorrow?
He said he was going to. I've been talking to him about it.
All right. Well, I'll hold him to that. All right, Joe. We'll see you. Joe Hell's got Al to open the phone lines. That's good stuff, man. Good. Get them out of their comfort zones. All right. Yes, I did see Dave Dombrowski when he was cornered about it today down there in Clearwater with the winds blowing. You could barely hear the goddamn audio. But he did say something to the point when asked about the incident. That was 7 months ago. I don't really want to it was handled then. I don't really want to open up that wound again. But it's interesting that, they kind of tried to, throw themselves on the live grenade there. I mean, and not even talk about what happened. So, but I appreciate. I do. That's stuff that we've criticized the Eagles over. That's stuff that happens inside those clubhouses, those locker rooms, those dugouts. That stuff belongs there. We don't need to know everything that happens because we don't know everything that happens behind closed doors. And there's a reason for that, right? These are people. These are people that react differently to different situations. And that is not, it makes no sense for us to be in the loop on all of that. But obviously Castellanos felt a need to address it in his letter home to his mommy that he wrote today, chronologizing at least most of the Miami incident. I think he's leaving out a piece of it, which is the most, I think, telling piece of what was said that made grown men disgusted, quote, end of quote, and then eventually got him suspended for one game. That's what I want to know. I mean, if you want to be transparent there, Castellanos, be transparent, man. Don't half-ass it. Tell us everything. Right, Michael Papernick?
Yeah. You know what? He is right. Bryce Harper to the buffoon. My bad. I won't do it again. Oh, he didn't get benched. Oh, Jimmy Rollins got benched for doing his thing Harper did. Oh, Nick, I give you credit. You have balls. He has balls. And you know what? They want to talk about 2024. Okay, let's think about 2020. Oh, didn't the Phillies get swept by the New York Mets? It wasn't all Nick's fault. Oh, okay. Let me think about that. No.
Oh, I'm not alluding to the fact that it was
I'm
Nick's
not
fault.
talking about you. I'm just saying. Then let me think. They signed him. So he thinks he's a star, $20 million. Well, has Harper been a star since he's been here? Let me think about this. No. 100 RBIs in 2019. That's what he's done. When they got he can't stay healthy. He can't. I'm so, you know what? I'm so glad Nick I would have just blew it all out. And you know what? No matter what he said, and to make grown men cry, this is a grown man's sport. Come on, man. Like unless it was a racial slur, that's a different story. If he's telling the manager he's whatever, blah, 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 who cares? I don't really care. You know, that guy should have been fired. He's lucky he's still on the team, you know, and I give Nick credit for calling them all out. That's the bottom line with that. Nick called them all out, and Dave don't want to talk about it because I guarantee if Nick got on there, he'd be like, yeah, this is why, you know, yeah, they gave me all the chances, but what did Robbie do? What did about the moves he didn't do, or the moves? And he said that.
Yeah. No, listen, listen, Mike, I don't doubt that Castellanos. I'm not saying Castellanos. The thing what I want to get to today is whether there's sides being drawn about who's in what camp. The Phillies did Castellanos wrong, and Castellanos did the Phillies wrong. I don't think the Phillies did Castellanos wrong, and I don't necessarily think Castellanos did the Phillies wrong. But there's evidence to say either way. No one's completely innocent here. Both sides did some things they probably shouldn't have done. And you know, but the biggest thing for me with the Phillies was he walked away here without any compensation, and we got stuck with $20 million.
I'm going to get what you asked Joe Hill. Bryce Harper would not even got suspended. Wouldn't have got nothing. Nothing. They would have kissed his two crooked letters. That's what they would have done. Okay, they would have done the same thing to Schwarber. And everything else. Oh, like I said the other night, what'd they do to Bob? Oh, they benched Bob. What? They benched Bob because he's he's in a slump. Oh, they don't bench Harper when he's 0 for 45.
Yeah.
No, they can't.
That. There's different standards for different players. Yeah, I know.
There it is. There it is. And he is right. How can you listen to that guy who's in the Wiffle Ball Hall of Fame in Canada? Seriously. There's a reason why he was a bench coach, whatever he did for the Yankees, because he shouldn't have been running a team. No other team in base. If I'm on the New York Yankees and I'm the bench coach and I'm winning and I win a World Series or I'm there, I guarantee you're getting interviews. Now, I've never heard Rob Thompson's name come up in an interview while with the New York Yankees for any managerial stuff. He gets to the Phillies with Joe Girardi and he lucked out 1 year. They got hot and they lucked out. After that, the Diamondback series, they put the blueprint out on how to beat the Phillies, and he got beaten in the analytical pennant. Then it just rolled right on through. But, you know, he don't get held accountable. Well, I mean, you know what? And Nick bringing a beer I mean, I'm sure there's more to it. I mean, if they're good, it has to be a racial slur. It has to be some type of racial slur that he probably blew out there, or some sexual slur he blew out there, or he called the manager something, or whatever he did that they're not putting out there. And I'm glad they're keeping it in the house. But you know what? But they're treating it like a kid, like we're kids. How do you put this? Like you're dangling a piece of candy in front of a kid and saying, you know, that's what they're doing to us. You know, the bait is on to keep talking about what else has been said. And it just come out and say it. What the heck? Just come out and say it. It's no big deal. And Nick will be on the team because, like you said, they're going to pay him the league minimum. They could pay him $1 and he's still making $20 million. What does he care?
Yeah,
he'll be on the team. Whether look, he'll go somewhere. I don't know where, but this team's a mess. This team's a mess. The guy upstairs, he screwed it up when he shouldn't have signed both him and Schwarber. And when they signed him, I said to my buddy, he just signed 2 DHs.
Yeah,
what the hell are they doing?
I remember thinking
what are they doing?
Because it was Castellanos that was signed first, and then a couple of days later they signed Schwarber. And I was happy when they brought Castellanos in because that was a need filled. But then you're right; they turn around 2 days later and they sign Schwarber. Like, where's everybody playing? You know, they're gonna play Schwarber in the field. I mean, what were we doing? Because it was the first year of the career. So
now Nick coming in here. Nick coming in. Remember, he came out of Cincinnati. He had what 30 home runs or something, 100 RBIs, I think. So did he consider himself a star? Yeah, he probably did. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, if you look at the Phillies seriously, who are the stars on this team?
Schwarber, Harper,
Harper,
Turner, and Realmuto.
Okay, see, I'll go Schwarber, Turner, and that's it. I think
Harper and JT have clout. They do. They're listened to. Maybe not the stars, but well, yeah, Harper's a star, of course. Harper's the franchise.
Is he really?
In people's mind, he is.
But I don't know. It's just he don't. I don't know. I mean,
it is a mess. It is a mess.
It's a mess. You got a manager to sit duck. He knows it's why they brought in Mattingly. And you got Dombrowski not thinking that he mentioned a date and said, "Oh, this pitcher ain't gonna be ready opening day." That makes no sense. I mean, your outfield is Brandon Marsh. There you go. Oh, we bench. He plays him every day, and then they say, "Well, we're just going to platoon you," but he'll throw Brandon Marsh out there any chance he gets. Because they gotta what? Because they have to justify the trade with the Angels yet. That's just this is this team is going to be a shame. And you know what the sad part is, Matty?
What? What's
not one player spoke up either in spoke up about in defense of Castellanos on anything.
Well, not yet. We'll see what happens.
I mean anything like. Maybe on how he called out the man. Maybe he was right. Maybe certain things. You know what I mean? Not one player. They won't. Because there's different rules for every player, and they're probably scared.
Matt Strom, no one came to his defense either. So
there it is. When he
called out management. Yeah, no, I agree.
There it is. You can't. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right or wrong to do that, but. Somebody's got to do it because Harper ain't going to do it. Schwarber ain't going to do it. None of them guys. Strom did it, and Strom did it, but he kind of like he called them out, but he didn't fully call them out. You know what I mean? Like he did blow the whistle and say how they did the same thing that Castellanos said. But it is what it is. This is going to be. I'm just glad that Nick's not on the team, and now they can settle in. There should be no excuses. There should be no we got the Nick Castellanos problems and all this and blah blah blah. Well, look, I hope you get better, Matty.
Thank you.
And I'll see you Sunday night. And if Al's on tomorrow night, maybe I'll be on tomorrow night.
Yeah, apparently Al's going to open the phone lines again. So,
well, I mean, like I said, he'll get Matty 2.0 calling in tomorrow night.
Well, I think it's funny. I don't know where Al comes out on the Castellanos thing. So
we're gonna find out.
Read the room on him a little bit, then, or just take a call on him and just hit him that way. Whatever you want.
Well, yeah. No, I'll listen and see. I'll listen to him and see what he's got to say. And everything. I mean, we're all gonna have. Look, do I agree with? If on some of the stuff, no. But I'm glad that somebody has to speak up sometimes, and the thing is. Does it send a good message if you speak up that you're getting traded and DFA'd to your team?
Does it send a good message that you got DFA'd versus traded?
No. Strom got traded.
Yeah.
And so did and then Castellanos DFA. Does it send a good message to your team that you can't speak up against your team about anything without any type of repercussions to certain people?
On the surface, it does. From the outside looking in, but again, I think there's a lot to these puzzle pieces that we don't know. That maybe it's a long list of another thing. Like the way it's kind of painted with Castellanos is he's had pretty much these diva type issues since he's been here, and that this is just another sort of the straw that broke the camel's back type thing. Again, they're kind of painting that a little bit like that.
Okay,
and I can't speak to that because I don't know.
Okay. Would you say this is a diva? I'm not batting fourth. I'll either bat first or second. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not batting. Look, you're going to bat me third, second. I'm not batting. There you go. So
I prefer to lead off. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does. No, I'm saying there's degrees. There's 50 shades of gray here. I get you. I do. But again, not being inside that building and being around the Castellanos for 4 years, I can't really speak to how he was perceived, but that article is painting an interesting light right from the fact that he said at the very 11th hour, please find me another team to go to. I don't really want to go to the Phillies, but no other team was going to offer that kind of deal, So
look, all the Phillies had to do was say, look, give me give me the taxi cab driver that's the worst player in your organization. We'll pay 19,500,000 of it. You pay $500,000 or something, and that's
And
it. Or we'll pay the whole
do it.
20 million.
And nobody would
Yeah.
do it, though. Nobody would do it. That's the other side of this. Nobody
You
would
want to
do
know
it.
why? You want to know why? Because some teams just don't want somebody who has a voice or an opinion about anything, whether it's right or wrong. They don't want that on their team.
And they wanted to save $19 million too, because they knew there's going to be an open market for him now. But, Simmons will obviously have his pick of who he goes to. Do you think he goes to the Marlins back home, or he goes to a contender? What would you do if you were Nick Castellanos? Would you be looking at the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, to stick it to the Phillies? I mean, would you be looking at like certain teams, or you're just like whatever?
No, what I would do is I would sit back and see how things pan out with spring training, and see if there's a team that maybe needs him. You know what I mean? That maybe they lose an outfielder. That's what I would do. I mean,
So
what do you in a rush for? If he signs in March, or he'll go to AAA or somewhere for 2-3 weeks, and then he'll come up. So I would sit out. I mean, I sit out the whole damn year. He's got $20 million. Go sit out. Get your body rested up. Get your mind straight. The CBA's coming. Yeah. You're going to be somebody will pick him up. He's not going to get $20 million no more. But I mean, if JT, I'll put it to you like this: if JT got 15, he's getting at least 12 to 13 to sign for a team, or 12 to 15.
All right, Papernick.
You have a good night.
All right, man. Michael Papernick, bringing the fire as always. I agree. And this is the side of this whole story we haven't really talked about, is what next for Castellanos. There's some options there on the table, as Papernick laid out. There's no rush for him to go and sign with anybody. He can sit back and kind of like survey the landscape, see who's out there. Or he can be very selective and say, all right, these are I'm going to write down a list of teams with that on that loose leaf paper that he's got with his notes on it. He's going to write down a group of teams and sort of put them there and do the pro-con thing. Now, is playing time, is that an option for him? Is that something that he's going to consider? Does he want to walk? And me and Joe talked about it a little bit. Does Castellanos walk into a situation where he's going to be a platoon player? Or kind of what he was going to do here if they kept him? Or is he looking for a positional, to start? And he is, granted, he can sit home this year and collect $20 million, but he could also go out there and bet on himself, have a good year, and in the post, CBA environment with whatever the new CBA is, either find himself a contract that way, or have such a great year that before the season's out, sign a big contract with whoever he's playing for. So Nick's got a couple options that he's going to have to measure. Now, I think the one commonality is that he will play for somebody this year, but the timeline on that is really up in the air of when he signs. There's no rush, as Papernick said. Say he waits till mid to late March. Someone's ACL blows out in the game against out there or wherever, and they need a right fielder or a first baseman, apparently, because he's been playing first, or he goes back to third base, his original position, which I doubt he will, or a DH gets hurt or somebody gets hurt and he's got a team by the balls and he signs for, it'll be just the league minimum, but it is on top of 20 million. So, I mean, it's playing with house money this year, but is he thinking just this year, or is he thinking the future too? Because he is a free agent at the end of the year. Oh, he's a free agent now, but he's not getting paid anymore after the end of this season. And how does that influence his next move? And would it be a kick in the ass to Phillies fans if the Mets sign Nick Castellanos? I would love that, honestly. I would personally love to see Nick Castellanos as a New York Met. Again, it's all about putting butts in the seats, man. And it's, that rivalry is better. That rivalry between the Phillies and Mets is so much better, just like the Eagles Cowboys. It's so much better when both teams are good, right? And we can never seem to catch it that way. We always are catching when the Mets are going up, we're going down, or the Mets are going down and we're going up. I want to catch the Mets right when boom, boom, boom. And after what happened at 24, I thought we were lining that up, but then the Mets had a kind of a wonky year last year. Just like I thought that was one of the reasons why we should have signed Alonso to stick it to the Mets. You know, that was a underlining reason. But does Nick Castellanos go to New York as a Met or a Yankee? Right? I don't think he goes to Florida. I don't think he has any interest in playing for the Miami Marlins. Hell, would you? I mean, Castellanos' career's got what? Legitimately, maybe one more. He's got one more contract left that he's going to fool somebody into. Does he want a ring? I mean, if he doesn't want the ring, just wants the money, fine, go play for the Marlins. But he's addicted to winning, allegedly. So where does that drive? What direction does that drive him in? I think it drives him into a contender. A Mets, a Yankees, Dodgers, Padres, Toronto. I wouldn't be surprised to see him playing for the Blue Jays. Boston, Baltimore would be an interesting spot. I think he would maybe work out. Go maybe a reunion back in Detroit. Help them out. You know, places like that. I don't think he goes to the Marlins just based on the fact that it's the Marlins, for God's sakes. But what is Castellanos' next move? And again, the original question of the night. Are you pro Castellanos, pro Phillies, or you know what? Just happy that it's over with. The Castellanos gone after 3 years and a legacy that's left with a lot of questions. Now, when you look at this thing, let's take this another step. Is this one of the worst free agent signings in Phillies history? Does this rival some of the bad decisions of bringing players here, of like the Lance Parrish, Joe Crowley, you know, those types of moves, those real big ones? Scott Kinnery. I mean, is this up there on some of the worst contracts given? I don't think it is. I think this was as I just said with Kaepernick, I thought at the time when they signed him, and I remember it vividly, right after the strike ended in 22, the Phillies were fast and furious. They first brought in Castellanos, then they brought in Schwarber. I was very happy with the Castellanos. He's one of the hottest free agents that year. I was very happy about that. But now apparently that's, he didn't really want to come here. But we were the only team that gave him that kind of deal. So, oh no, man. What could have been. And the last thing I want to talk about with Castellanos, and we'll move off of this and get into the other night. Is this the first domino to fall in the downfall of the Phillies? Is this the first, crack in the foundation? And is this like, okay, we all equate the core of this team as Harper, Realmuto, Schwarber, Castellanos, Bohm, Stott, right? We all look at that as this era of Phillies baseball. Is this, with Castellanos, the first sledgehammer strike to that foundation that's going to eventually topple down the building? And what kind of ramifications does that have? Now, on a follow-on note about the Castellanos move, Gabriel Raconis Jr. will not see action, reported here tonight, in the first part of spring training because he's dealing with left knee soreness. So they did say that he will probably see some time later on in the spring. He's still going to Phillies camp, but he will not be in early season action. Another injury apparently coming out of spring training when we haven't even started spring training. I mean, you got Lindor going on a 60-day IL. Who else went on the IL? Was a pitcher, wasn't it? Yeah, Schwallenbach. He's on the IL. I mean, we haven't even started yet, and these guys are getting hurt. And now you got Raconis Jr. being reported that he's got left knee soreness, and he will miss. He won't get any action early on in spring. but that doesn't mean he's not going to see some action later on. But the post Nick Castellanos era is here. Are you thinking the Phillies did him bad? You think Castellanos did the Phillies bad? Or are you just happy that it's over? I'm just happy that it's over. And I don't feel Nick Castellanos is a victim here. Papernick brought up an interesting point, and Castellanos brought up this point too. Are there different standards for different players on the Phillies? And if the answer to that question is yes, which is probably is that really earth-shattering news that certain players are treated differently than others? I think that's not. That's as old as time itself. You know what I mean? And did that lend into part of this problem when he came here perceiving himself to be a star player, and when not given that same treatment, did that start driving a wedge between Castellanos and the Phillies? And did the Phillies, give him the wrong impression of what he was going to be here? And what does it say about the character of Nick Castellanos that he walked in here thinking I'm a diva star player and I need to be treated that way? What does it say about any player that feels that way? And the comments about Rob Thompson and Kevin Long with no respect basically to anybody who has not played the game before professionally at the MLB level. He doesn't respect them as coaches or managers. He said that. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and this is not going to turn into a defense of Rob Thompson. God knows I ain't doing that. But, and if Castellanos is saying that, how many other players feel that way about the manager and the hitting coach, which I don't understand the love towards. I've never understood the love towards Kevin Long. I really haven't. I've never understood it. But yeah, that's what's happening in Phillies land. So the Nick Castellanos drama is history. And he'll now peddle his wares someplace else. But big question, I guess, is does he sign? I got main camp starts on the 16th, right? Does Castellanos sign with somebody like over the next course of the next few days? Or does he sit back, as Papernick kind of said, and sort of just waits, sits back and, surveys the battlefield, so to speak, and picks and chooses his next move to be more lucrative to him? Because this is an interesting season for him. Yes, it's a freebie. $20 million, whether he plays or he doesn't. But he is still playing for that next contract, which will be next year, because he's not getting paid after this year. So I don't think he can take the year off. He's going to have to find his way to another team soon, at some point, to set himself up for the future. And the bottom line is the Phillies got nothing for him, man. Nothing. All right. And again, we're off to an auspicious start. And is Dave Dombrowski's seat hot, folks? And I don't want any of you to tell me that it is. You know why? Because I've been saying it for 2 years now that his seat should be hot. I have not been impressed with Dave Dombrowski. Let me just throw that out there. You look at the Jesus Luzardo trade and the Johan Duran trade. That's about the two biggest moves he's had as the GM and or president, whatever the hell he is. But other than that, he's traded away key pieces of our prospect pool. Logan O'Hoppe, Eduardo Tayit, Mick Abel. Right? He's traded away key pieces of that prospect pool. He's missed on every single goddamn trade deadline move with the exception of the one from last year. Questionable contracts with players. Taijuan Walker, a questionable ass contract. I guess Nick Castellanos, questionable ass contract. How much more time does Dave Dombrowski have left? And is this a pivot not only for the manager of the Phillies, but is this also a pivot year for Dombrowski? Are either of their jobs secure right now? And what do they got to do this year in order to save their jobs? These are the wrong things we should be talking about heading into spring training for a team that's still, on paper at least, a 90-plus win team. But nowhere closer to winning a World Series than they were last year. Stunning stuff. All right, let's go to the of the night segment. All right, we are continuing on with our expose on the Phillies spotlight as we're churning through these players left and right. I think we should be done next week. About 85% of the way through spotlighting the 2026 Phillies. And let's continue that tonight. Last night we talked about the future. The man, the myth, the legend, Justin Crawford, and what he could provide this team going forward. And yes, what this team could look like. Because right now, when you look at the Phillies, it's hard to get excited. I 100, and I guess maybe that's the part of this that we're not talking about. All this drama. This should be an exciting time of the year, but it's not. Because you got all this stuff coming out of Dave Dombrowski and the situation with Castellanos, the Bo Bichette, all that stuff right behind each other. It's not exciting right now. And it has to be. Tomorrow, Division I baseball, college-wise, kicks off nationwide. Well, not nationwide, in the warmer places. This is an exciting time. We're about 4 days away from the full spring workouts. This time next week, I should say this time tomorrow, next week tomorrow, spring training baseball starts. Phillies will start on Saturday, but next Friday, we got spring training baseball. So this should be an exciting time, but it's not right now. Sucks. And we talked about last night one of the players that could bring that excitement back to the Phillies, and that's Justin Crawford. We talked about the future of the outfield now. Now it's set, right? You got a platoon in left between Marsh and Kemp, Garcia in right, Crawford in center. That is pretty much what your 2026 outfield is going to be. Now, how does Gabriel Roconis Jr. fit into all this? We don't know. Will the outfield look like that at the end of the season? We don't know. Is that when the excitement gets here at the end? When we're making a pennant rush? Who knows? But we talked about the future last night. And I guess maybe that's what I have to do, is look towards the future. Being like later on this season, not like 2 years from now, but like just a few months from now. And maybe that's when the excitement will come. So tonight we're going to look at a player who is synonymous here in town. He put his name out there last year. Of course, what I'd like, though, about what happened with this guy last year is that it doesn't seem to be any residual backlash that exists between him right now and the Phillies fans. Of course, he hasn't stepped on the field in Philadelphia since the incident out in L.A., but it seems all systems are go right now, and I'm glad for that because I really like this guy, and I still believe in his future here as a Phillies relief pitcher. And I am speaking of Orion Kerkering. Now, that looks like Tommy Glavine. No, not Tommy Glavine. That looks like Tom Green. Doesn't that look like Tommy Green from way back in the day? Anyway, don't worry about the pitcher. Orion Kerkering is the Phillies spotlight player of the night. And of course, we all know, I ain't going to bring it up, right? We've all done it before. Matter of fact, I heard somebody the other day talking about the play, about the decision-making, about Kerkering even being put into that situation or coming back in for a second inning and knowing that he hasn't performed well all season long. And I have to remind people, he got out of that inning. He got out of that jam, correct? I mean, the play was a soft number back to him, and he just made the wrong decision with the ball. But his pitching got him out of that. And I believe that he still has, and of course, he did everything right after that, right? He faced the media, he faced the criticism, he faced everything like a man and a professional athlete should. So that tells me a lot about the character of Ryan Kirkering, right? And I still believe in his ability. I know a lot of people are starting to waver on him, and I can understand why. But I still believe in his ability as a closer, though. I still think that the Phillies, and again, I still think that he'll succeed at this level, but as a closer, and obviously he's not going to get that opportunity here unless somebody gets hurt. So looking to a potential Ryan Kirkering as part of your back end of your bullpen in 26 to start the season is acceptable and fine. And I think that's where obviously he belongs. But is a Ryan Kirkering better served maybe somewhere else? And is he potentially a trade piece, at some point this year? I don't know. But not that I want him traded. I want to see him given an opportunity to be a closer. I really do. I want a team to give the opportunity to him, say, here you go, kid. This is your job to lose. Go out there and do what you got to do. Because I really think he has closer stuff. I do. And maybe he takes a step in that direction this year. And I hope he does. So for a 3.30 ERA last year, 60 innings on the nose pitch, 65 strikeouts. He had a whip of 1.37 and 4 saves. 69 appearances. And, of course, the play that will live in infamy around here. I'll never forget because I was in my little office here. I was watching the game. My stepkids were on the other side of the house upstairs, and they were watching the game too, but they were watching it kind of in a different environment than me. And when he threw that ball at home, I jumped up and I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. What are you doing? You got to go to first. No. And they come running down and they're like laughing because they were watching the game and they obviously knew what I was yelling about. But listen. Yeah. Okay. I think we all had a similar reaction to that play. It was dumb. It was dumb. Oh my God. Now, of course, PFP might be a focal point this spring as these workouts start, and watching the pitchers take their PFP, and especially Ryan Kirkering. And I'm not asking for a standing ovation for him. I think that's stupid. I really do. But let bygones be bygones, man. He made the wrong decision in the heat of the moment. I guarantee you, though, in the rest of his baseball career, if he's ever in that position again, he'll make the right decision. He'll never forget that as long as he lives. I like Ryan Kirkering. I still think he's got what it takes at this level. And then, yeah, as I said, disregard I don't know why the pitcher came out like that. I don't think it was Holiday. I think it was like Tom Green from the 90s. But anyway, there's your spotlight player of the night. I still believe in you, Ryan Kirkering. I still want you to be successful. And I think you will be. But I don't know. I really still think he's a closer. I really do. But he's a good piece to have in the back end of our bullpen, along with Keller and along with Alvarado and, of course, Duran. So the Phillies bullpen is better than it was last year. They did improve the bullpen. Starting rotation is the same. Offense might be worse, but they did improve their bullpen. I will give them that 100%. All right. Before we do the card of the night, I do want to discuss the Olympics tonight. Flyers, the Team USA. And did you catch? If you caught the game, you would have caught John Tortorella working the bench for Team USA. He's one of the assistant coaches on there. Mike Sullivan was back wearing a tie behind the bench. That was interesting to see. I haven't seen him wear a tie in a minute behind the bench. He went into the sweat clothes look with the Flyers, which I agree. I think that's how you should dress behind the bench. But what do I know? But anyway, it was interesting to see him. He was working the forwards for Team USA, and they went out today against Latvia, and it was a tough game. I mean, listen, early on in that first period, that was, again, I understand that Team USA has not played together yet, and this was their first opportunity. But these kids have, I should say, kids. These are NHL players, but they've played together before on this type of stage. They've done international hockey together at certain times of their careers. They've all gone through the NTDSP. So they're familiar with each other. But obviously it takes some time to get, timing down. They were up 1-0, and then they went up 2-0. But Latvia challenged the goal, calling on offsides, which was a blatant offsides. That wasn't even close. The Team USA was offside. So the goal got disallowed. Latvia came right back and scored, tied up at 1-1. Then another goal was disallowed from Team USA due to goalie interference. That was a little bit more ticky-tack. That was a little bit more of a ticky-tack kind of call. I looked at it from all those angles too. Yeah, he was in the blue, but he got out of the blue, and I don't know if he didn't influence the puck. He didn't touch the goalie, but whatever. Latvia challenged that goal and won. Right. So Latvia was doing everything they could to try to stay in this thing, and I applaud the Latvian coach for challenging everything that he could. That's the way you have to go up against a team like that. You just, whatever, if it's close, whatever, we're challenging it. And hopefully we win and we get another challenge and we keep rolling that challenge all the way through the end of the game. But Team USA eventually, through just sheer talent and ability, pulled away to a 5-1 win today in pool play, their first game of the Olympics, setting up Saturday's game against Denmark. Saturday against Denmark at 3:10. And then they'll play their third and final pool game on Sunday against Germany before the playoffs will start. And of course, the date with Canada looming out there somewhere. That's when this thing really begins, when we play Canada. But a good start for Team USA. Slow, as expected. They were getting their timing down, Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, Brady and Matt Tkachuk, they all looked otherworldly. What would the Flyer? One of the brothers, man, one of the Tkachuk brothers. I don't care which one, Brady or Matt. I would love to have. I mean, that's the kind of player the Flyers are missing on their team. That kind of guy. Any one of the Hughes brothers, we could have had Quinn, right? There was an opportunity to get Quinn, but we didn't get him. We just need one of them guys to play for the Flyers, and this rebuild gets put into a whole other level. But what they do with their talent and their ability, they elevate everybody around them. And we don't have that. And we have not had a player like that since Eric Lindros. And yes, Claude Giroux was not that kind of guy. Eric Lindros was the last player that elevated everybody's talent around him for the Flyers. We talked about the trade last night, the one that netted John LeClair. That happened yesterday in Flyers history, right? John LeClair went from a 25-goal scorer a year to a 50-goal scorer a year with Eric Lindros. We desperately need that guy again. And until we get him, we're not going anywhere in this rebuild. But watching those guys play and watching John Tortorella coach those types of players, I'm sure that's up his alley, right? And I don't blame him. But yeah, Team USA, easy win today as they will move on into the second game on Saturday. They looked good. They did. Once they got rolling, they looked good. I can't wait to see what Painter looks like in a Phillies uniform. I think he's going to be good. He's going to be good too. Again, Joe, I know no one's excited right now. And it upsets me, but I understand why. Because what are you getting excited about? The debacle of the Castellanos move, not getting Bo Bichette, seemingly not improving your offense in the offseason, running it back, all those things. Dombrowski really coming out and all of this looking like a fool. I know there's a lot of people out there that are not excited, and I'm not saying you're wrong to not be that way, and it sucks that it is that way. But there's something that we were forgetting. This picture has not been drawn yet, right? This has not been, ink has not been put to paper yet here, and this team, I pray to God, looks differently between now and October. And certain players take that step forward. Right? This team is still a 95 win, or I should say 90-95 win team. This team is still a playoff team. That is true. And I don't want to come off as a hypocrite because I am the biggest freaking advocate that if you don't win a championship, it's a failure. And me and Kyle went back and forth about that earlier today. But in baseball, we all know it's about getting to the dance. It really, really, truly is. Baseball is a war of attrition till you get to the playoffs. And what you do in the playoffs constitutes your season. And yeah, it's going to be another season like that where we're going to kind of look ahead and skip ahead. I don't think as much as we did last year, but there'll be a certain degree of that. But this team is still a playoff team, and they will, in my opinion, be there in October. What they do in October is not looking good right now. It's looking like the same. And if we're in a position again where they are one and done in the playoffs, and we have to listen to Dave Dombrowski tell us how hard it is to win at this level, I think it would be time for some change at that point. But you got to reload and go at it one more time. You got no choice, right? The Phillies were in a bad spot to begin with these contracts. And this is what happens when you have all these big, high-priced contracts. You eventually have to suck on this at some point and be like, well, this is my team. This is who they are. And I'm going to run them until I can get away from some of these contracts. That's the problem with getting these big time contracts, that you're eventually you are stuck with them. So, but I feel you, man. I do. All right, let's go to my favorite segment of the night. Yeah, that's right. We're back to the baseball cards. Sorry. MattyB's card review. Final one of the week. Did we do, I think we did one every night, didn't we? Maybe we missed one. This was the best card review we've had in a while. We've done a lot today, this week. Tonight, we're going to finish up again on the sort of the high of what happened yesterday. And that is all the cards being released. 2026 Top Series 1 coming out. And we did a Series 1 card last night. We did the Roman Anthony Titans of the Game card. And we're going to go back and we're going to do an actual, I figured I did an insert last night. I'm going to actually show you what the base set looks like if you haven't seen them yet. And we're going to do a base set card from the 2026 Top Series 1. Joe just brought some cards. Good for you, Joe. Good for you. Joe's getting into the thing. That's good. Tonight we're going to talk about another young hot player in MLB. And again, what makes this set, which makes every set every year that much more enjoyable, is to see some of these young players finally get their baseball card. Now, this kid actually did have a baseball card last year, but it was 1 of 1 in the Topps Update Series Chrome. He was a relic debut auto card. So this is his first base card of his career. And I'm sure he's already has this in his possession. But good young prospect for the Kansas City Royals, a high draft pick from 2024. 23. 23? Yeah, 23. I speak, of course, of Jack Caglione from the Kansas City Royals. And this is what the base card looks like from the Topps 2026 Series 1 set. Again, we didn't have an opportunity last night to kind of go over the base card look because we did an insert, but I'm okay with this. Kind of a it's not like the whole front of the card is the picture. They focused a little bit on the borders again this year. It's not too busy. It's sort of retro-y, classic looking. It's not bells and whistles. It's not. I like the little Topps 75th anniversary shield up there in the corner. It'll be there all season. It is the Topps 75th year of Topps this year. All in all, for a set design, it's okay. I did like when they incorporated the entire front of the card as the picture. No border at all. But, it's okay. It's nothing to get all excited about, and yet it's nothing to get upset to me about. It's a very clean-looking, basic border and a design. And this is of course, you got the Jack Caglione card, and you got the rookie shield down there in the lower right-hand corner to prove that this is his rookie card. Good young player for the Kansas City Royals. I wonder, though, if he's going to miss the boat a little bit with Bobby Witt coming up on free agency soon. We'll see, but definitely a foundational player for them out in Kansas City. Now, this card, just like last night's card in Titans of the Game, actually does have a sale against it. One card has been sold so far, even though we're a little over 24 hours into the release date of these cards. One card has sold for a whopping $4, ungraded raw, which this card is that I'm holding in my hand, has sold for $4. So good early returns on the Jack Caglione base rookie card number 138 in the Topps 2026 Series 1. But yeah, so that's it. That's what the cards look like, and here it is in its physical form. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there it is. And here's what the backs look like right there. Just basic, right? And I like that. I don't like investing moments and time and art and color on the border. I would prefer a full picture front, but whatever. This works for me. And I like the 75th anniversary shield too. So there you go. That is it. That is our card review, the Jack Caglione Series 1 Topps 2026. Talked about the actual design of the card, design of Topps this year. And that's going to take me and you guys to the end of another week. This was a rough one, man. I'm under the weather. I'm sick. Done nothing today but sleep. That's it. In intervals, like 3 hours here, 4 hours there. But I'm glad I was able to pull it together for one last show. That's going to do me till Sunday. I'm sure I'll feel better when I come back at you on Sunday. But it's been a great week, interesting week for a February, mid-February week. We talked about it at the beginning of the week. Hell week, right? Sports Hell week. This was Sports Hell week. But tomorrow, look at all we've accomplished this week. Baseball is here. Nick Castellanos is no longer a Philly, right? Tomorrow, programming note for all you college baseball fans, it's on. Division I breaks in a huge way tomorrow. ESPN Plus is the carrier you want to be looking at tomorrow because there's games all day as the Division I baseball season will get started in a park probably nowhere near you. It's all going to be down in the southern and western parts of the country. But we got Division I baseball starting tomorrow. And on Monday, we got players, everybody at camp and full team workouts. So we got through Hell Week unscathed, and we had some fun in the process. So not a bad week. And we get 1 week closer. And then at this time next week, we'll be talking Phillies, Blue Jays, and Phillies Pirates spring training games. Now, I don't know how it is around I haven't looked, and I don't know if it's even available. And I don't know when it'll be made available, but because I use the MLB app when I watch Phillies games, so I get to see every game. But next Saturday is their first spring training game, but I don't know if it's going to be televised. I would imagine, based on years past, it isn't televised, and they'll televise Sunday's game against the Pirates, but hopefully it is for those of you that are in the Delaware Valley and you want to watch Phillies baseball, because the world's a lot better when the Phillies are on TV. And that's obviously a signal that we're getting closer and closer to the good time of the year. Joe says the new cars yeah, they are. They're okay. I mean, again, the one thing that Topps really can't afford to do is go over the top when it comes to these borders. I just like the most iconic set of Topps baseball cards is the Topps 87 with the wood paneling border. That was over the top, though. Okay, that takes complete focus away from the card and focus completely on the border. People look at that border as, iconic, and yes, it is. It's one of the most widely recognizable cards in the history of baseball cards. It is. But if you look at it, it's because it's so like boom right there. So anything that you can do to kind of eliminate what the border does to a card in terms of taking away from its appearance, I think it's perfect, and it's a classic look this year. I'm a big fan of the entire front of the card being the pitcher, but Topps has been kind of going in this direction for the last few years. It's fine. It's a good looking card. But I will be back on Sunday, guys. Don't forget, this is what's happening on the network for the rest of your week. Tomorrow, you got the Philly Friday Frenzy at 9 p.m. with Big Al. Allegedly, he's opening the phone lines. That's what they're telling me. I don't know. I have not verified that. But allegedly, he is opening the phone lines. So take that for what it's worth. On Saturday, you'll have the best of the It's a Wrap Sports. If you missed it, it'll all be repackaged and reprogrammed for you starting at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. Everything from this past week. And then we get things rolling again on Sunday morning with the Philly AM Sports Show, and then I'll be back Sunday at 9. So make sure you're here for everything that's about to go down. All right? Thank you, Joe. So from me to you, I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a great end of your week, and I hope you have a great weekend. I will see you on the back end. I'm out of here.